your creative liberty hasn't led to debates and controversies. People have taken in with a lot of love.
Creative liberty is again this term which has emerged in the West, which has this this thing of I am this lone ranger, rebel, taking on the evil, bad establishment. You'll notice even Western atheism has that approach. Indians had atheism as well, by the way. Many of our schools of philosophy were actually atheists. The Charvaks, Mimamsas, Sankhyas, they were all atheist schools. Bodha, Jaina, many of their schools are also atheists. And there was no oppression against them, no one tried to kill them, nothing was wrong with it in the Indian way. You can be an atheist, you can be a believer, no problem. But you'll notice that the traditional Indian atheists didn't feel the need to insult religious people to prove themselves superior. But you notice Western atheists keep doing that,
yes.
Right? It's almost like the purpose isn't to explore your own path. The purpose is to show someone else down. My truth is the truth. Anyone else is worshipping false gods.
No concept of blasphemy.
They will burn in hell for eternity. These are very childish concepts, frankly. Right? We didn't have that in India. Now, what bears out, what ends up happening in the real world is game theory. I mean, you know John Nash's game theory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Beautiful Mind?
No, I've not. I'm clearly not a movie buff at all.
So, John Nash received the Nobel Prize for it. I had actually read the original paper.
Sure.
I'm a BSc mathematics. Game theory speaks of how decision making and choices happen in the real world. Economists keep assuming that that human beings are rational animals. We all know that's not really. There is one aspect to that, but there is an irrational emotional angle to it as well. And John Nash goes into how game theory works, how people's decisions and choices are not just driven by what they think. They also react to how others, behave. Now, one sees this across many countries in the world. If there's one group which will take offense and enforce their writ, and the other groups are relatively polite, game theory says this is not a stable scenario. Either everyone will start taking offense, or everyone will not take offense. It has to be the only stable scenario is one of these two.
But
right?
And
you're seeing that work out, frankly, in real life.
So in your recent interview, you did say that if you want to write on mythology, there's no better place than India and no better area than Dharma. But in the face of the sensitivity that we see in the country today, do you find it difficult to wade through? Is there a middle ground that you hold or a basic playbook that you use to say, this is how I'm going to portray my characters? This probably won't irk their sentiments and yet would be a success with them.
I write my books the way it comes to me. I have been in this for 12 years, 10 books. God's grace, the books have sold some 6 million copies. Have you found any controversy around it? You can Google.
I'll ask you that. Is there controversy? Because, for example...
Have you heard anything?
No, for example,
let me tell you my theory. Let me tell you my theory for why it does not happen. Two things. One, sadly, I'm not saying it's in a majority of the cases, but it does happen. We all know it happens. Artists themselves create controversy with the help of their friends in the media. You know that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult you guys.
Are you saying it's a deliberate attempt to market?
It's a very easy way to market, right? Because it's cost effective. You get publicity and you will sell. I'm very clear. I will never do controversy. And that's one of my first rules to my publisher. I just got a new publisher, and that was because I genuinely worship the gods and goddesses I write on. So I'd much rather not sell than sell through controversy.
So
now, not selling to, if I'll just complete, not selling through controversy takes harder work. Right? I'm willing to do that hard work, and my publishers have to be willing to do that work, but we will not sell through controversy. That's one aspect. The other aspect is, I think many Indians are comfortable with multiple truths as long as you present your version of the truth in a respectful manner. And intentions can be seen. It doesn't have to be spoken out in an advertising board. It can be seen. Put my books aside. Let me give you an example from a movie. If someone approached an Indian film producer or director and said, make a scene where the main hero breaks the base of a shivling and then picks it up and then carries it on his shoulder, then goes to a waterfall and then places it under that waterfall. Any producer and director will tell you, are you crazy? Right? But in the hands of someone like Raja Mauliji, who's genuinely devout, he's genuinely proud of his culture, he's genuinely devout, he genuinely worships the gods he makes movies on. It is one of the most iconic scenes of Bahubali.
Yeah.
Why? Because the viewers could see the devotion in that scene, in the faces of the actors, in the way the scene was composed, in the way the music was. Indians can see those intentions. So something which will appear to someone who's not in tune with the real India is very shocking. The real Indians will not bat an eyelid.
That's easier
That
said
is
than done, right?
No,
I'll tell you why.
Bahubali is one of the biggest.
Today.
Bahubali is one of the
Sure,
biggest
I
hits
agree.
ever.
I agree.
I don't mean to blow my own trumpet, but from what my publishers told me, Shiva trilogy is the fastest selling ever. Ramchandra series is the second fastest selling ever. Have you ever seen any controversy?
No, I agree. But my point is that quite simply in an age of social media, is it as simple as, all Indians understand the logic behind it, understand the emotion behind it, and so accept it? When you talk about interpretation alone, for example, in the Shiva trilogy, the version that you put out of Lord Shiva as someone who is an opium smoking Lord Shiva, for example, to someone else could be an Adi Yogi, right? So where do you feel that interpretation
is a warrior in your books as opposed to how we remember her as a very submissive style, which I think was absolutely fantastic.
There's a version of the Ramayana called the Adbhut Ramayana, which is credited to Valmiki ji. There are 3 Ramayans credited to Valmiki ji. One is the Valmiki Ramayana, the second is the Adbhut Ramayana, the third is the Ananda Ramayana. Many of the interpretations that you see have actually drawn from there. The version that I show of Lord Dashrath and Ravaan having a battle close to the sea is actually from the Anand Ramayana. So Sita Ma is a warrior, for example. In the Adbhut Ramayana there are 2 Ravans, and there's an elder Ravan, if I can complete.
Yes.
There's an elder Ravan who is killed by Sita Ma, right? And this is in the Valmiki Ramayana. I don't mean to sound rude, but I actually have far more faith in the Indian masses than in the Indian elite. Indian elites tend to get very adversarial because sadly they have been westernized to a very large degree.